Are we ready to go, Yvonne? And did you get my message yesterday, Christella, on Olin? I'll talk to you about it a bit later. We'll find out. Yeah, he's I don't understand that. So, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the special meeting of the Village of Ruidoso Council. It is April 23rd, 2024, 8 o'clock. If you will join me in standing for a moment of silence, and then we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance and the salute to the flag. Pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico, the Zia symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures. All right, everybody. Thank you. Roll call, please, Yvonne.
Mayor Crawford,
Here.
Councilor Eby,
Here.
Councilor Letterman,
Here.
Councilor Salas,
Here.
Councilor Hooker,
Here.
Councilor Jackson,
Here.
Councilor Corey.
Here. All right, welcome, and thank you, everybody, for being here at the council. So at any time during the day, if you need to tap out, ask for reinforcements, just raise your hand. But
Substitutions.
yeah, we're bringing in a substitute. First item, discussion and possible action on adoption of Resolution 2024-14, a resolution amending the fiscal year 2024 budget quarter ending March 31st, 2024, for certain funds in application to the Local Government Division, LGD, of the New Mexico Department of Finance and Administration, DFA, for approval thereof. Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, Mayor, councilors. In front of you is the third quarter budget adjustment resolution. The overall budget adjustments are from January 1st through March 31st, and the total increase to expenditures was $12,261,995. So for our discussion, we will be zeroing in on the Department of Finance and Administration, Local Government Division, Financial Management Bureau, Schedule of Budget Adjustments. In your packet, if you're online, it's the resolution report. Is everybody there?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
So what this form does, it separates the adjustments during the quarter by category: revenues, transfers in, expenditures, and transfers out. We'll go through each fund. If any time you have any questions, please stop me and I'll try to answer. A lot of times you will see transfers between the funds, so it will be a duplication from one fund to another. Or if there's grant monies, you'll see an increase in the same amount of not only the revenue side, but on the expenditure side. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and start with the general fund. Revenues increased $1,836,417. The majority of the increase was a $1.3 million increase to adjust GRT to actual. As you know, back in January, we got the windfall of the correction of grocer deductions from just a deduction to a hold harmless deduction. A regular deduction, we're not paid the hold harmless percentage, so once they figured it out and recategorized it, we were due some monies back. We did get a legislative appropriation for an EDA grant match at $465,600. The PD had a New Mexico Self-Insurance Fund insurance claim at $30,341. It was for a snow accident. And donations to all the different departments increased by $22,476. Transfers in increased $217,316. The main amount was from a transfer for correction fees at $37,113. As you all may know, they in the last legislature they passed a bill that will close out our local correction fees fund. and that is moving to the state. So there's a stipulation in that correction fee that says if you're a population of under 10,000, any monies that are over the amount that you need to house your inmates, you can move it back to the general fund. So what I'm doing is actually transferring, it in total is going to be about $89,000 back to the general fund, because if we don't, it reverts back to the state at June. So what I'm trying to do is for these next few months is monitor that account to make sure that we can take any money that's ours and transfer it to the general fund so that we don't have to revert it to the state. There's an increase in admin fees from lodger's tax at $174,250, and there was a payback of a grant match on a recreation grant from the Intergovernmental Grants Fund later
Explain
on.
to me again the increase in admin fees from lodger's tax?
So an admin fee is a lot of the enterprise funds and the lodger's tax pay the general fund for services that they would have to do on their own, like accounting, human resource, and it's based on actual revenue. So as you know, during the year, we budget our revenues low. So if we're high, actual revenues are higher than budget, then I have to increase that budget because it's based on actual revenues. And as you know, lodger's tax is up this year.
And so that's the fee they pay to the general fund?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I just wanted to, I thought I'd read it wrong, but okay.
As for expenditures, PD donations increased $9,800. There's the PD insurance claim at $30,341. The PD shooting range repairs $20,000. This is coming out of some of that correction fees money. Fire donations at $1,554. And then there was a reconciliation with the snow removal and McBride. We had to reduce it by $61,315. The senior center donations increased $7,932. The parks donations increased $3,190, and then of course the EDA grant match at $465,600. Transfers out increased $1.4 million. There's a transfer to the RSV due to grant reimbursement timing at $3,000. He has to spend the money before he can get it back, and this month there was a little bit of a lag, and so he was over budget by $3,000. So as soon as he gets the grant reimbursement back, that'll be paid off. And then there's a transfer of $1 million to help fund the Horton Complex Phase 2, and grant match at 603 Meacham at $409,413. Any questions on the general fund? If not, we'll go to the correction fees. The revenues increased $9,750. That is just adjusting all the revenues to actual to make sure I'm accounting for any monies that can come back to the general fund. And of course, the transfer back to the general fund at $37,113. SGRT increased because we got a groan, which is part loan, part grant for the water tanks Phase 2. The grant amount is $826,573, and the loan is $91,842. So we're getting better on the percentages of grant to loan. Before, remember, the loans were a lot more than the grants. Now our grants are taking over. So transfers in increased $22,470. There was a payment on a Horton drainage expense that got paid out of the wrong fund, so I'm just paying it back to this SGRT fund. And then the loan payments for the new water tank Phase 2 loan, $91,842, and our storm drainage plan, which was also grown at $100,000.
Judy, please. Mayor. Going back real quick, the grant loan switching over, why is that? Is it something we're doing that they're saying you're doing good, so we'll give you more money?
I think they just like us. No, just kidding.
Yeah,
I think they just got more money.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
And I know we tend to complete our projects, so that could be another factor.
That's a big key. They love it when they have a win, because a lot of communities, believe me, they get it clawed back. They don't get it done, and we do, so they push it over here.
Thank you.
The next fund is the EMS fund. I'm just adjusting the grant to the actual amount at increasing it by $6,361. And then the safety equipment increased 6,100, and unfortunately, we have a fiscal year 2023 state reversion of 28,932. The ENMS fund had never asked us to do an audit or ask us for carryover, and they got new personnel that decided to do an audit, and unfortunately, we didn't know they were going to ask us about it, so they asked for an audit, and unfortunately, we had 28,000 that we hadn't used in the fund. We didn't get it encumbered, so we're going to have to pay that back. However, the good thing is that now they've expanded the EMS fund, and they've added more money to it, so usually we get 17,000, and I believe we're going to get a lot more this coming year, so.
And that was a new deal that we didn't know about.
Yeah. It's amazing they can ask for money back.
Oh, Mr. Mayor, Judy, is that one of the situations where if you don't use it, you lose it, or?
Counselor Jackson, Mayor, yes, it is. However, they had not done it in my lifetime, and I've been here and in Gallup,
I'm
so,
not throwing darts, but I
Yeah.
just wondered because it seemed odd that suddenly, but you have a new sheriff in town, and
Yes.
so I got you.
and it's kind of funny, she doesn't even have the forms for the carryover or anything, they were just asking for the monies.
In Mayor Crawford, Councilor Jackson, usually like with the LEPF and the fire fund,
Yes.
you send a letter of request, requesting to roll over the funds to the next fiscal year. And they've never done that at all.
So that's going to be on our checklist, is in addition to those ones, now we're going to just start doing, even if they don't have any forms or any kind of formal
Make up our
process,
own form.
we're going to just keep on with that same procedure.
Thank you.
The next fund is the Special Library Grant Fund. There was an increase to revenues at 44,167. The majority, let's see, Lincoln County grant at 12.5, the fiscal year 2024 grants and aid, 10,353, and the New Mexico Community Grant at 21,314. The expenditures increased for library materials for those grants at 43,463. Our largest tax fund increased because we were adjusting largest tax to actual at 368,560, and New Mexico Department of Tourism grant at 11,440. Expenditures also increased by 50,926. Buxton Software at 18,806, advertising for 30,000, and media planning for 2,120. Transfers out was the increase to the admin fees at 174,250. The municipal gas tax, or the street fund, increased both revenues and expenditures for the fiscal year 2024 co-op at 192,808 and the MAP at 213,975. We do have a match on that. It is not a cash match, it's a match for the time of our personnel and the equipment time. The Special Recreation Fund increased revenues 121,500. That's in just preparation of the new Whibbit season that will begin now in May. And expenditures increased 18,000 for the new Whibbit season. Intergovernmental grants. Now, this one was a big one because we got several legislative appropriations. We got our recreation, we got 2 recreation appropriations totaling 1.5 million. The PD got a crime scene legislative appropriation for 50,000. The McBride Fire got a appropriation for 2,500,000. The senior center remodel at 370,000, $38, and the Midtown bathroom through RMA, 265,000. And of course, when there's a grant, you're gonna have an expense, so the improvements to Schoolhouse Park at $1 million, and then just regular parks improvement, 500,000. The PD crime scene equipment, 50,000. The McBride Fire at 2.5. The senior center bath remodel at 94,000, and the building remodel at 276,000 and $38, and the Midtown bathroom, which is going in at Country Club, at 265,000.
So the legislative appropriation for 1.5, that was from Zach?
One was that new recreation, those new recreation monies were the million, I can't remember.
Quality of life
The quality of
grants.
life, there you go.
Oh, okay. Well, you said okay, I was thinking. And then
That was,
chief,
I'm sorry,
Go
the
ahead.
quality of life is the $1 million for Schoolhouse Park.
Yes.
Got it, okay.
And Chief, on the PD crime scene equipment, 50,000, where did that grant come from?
From the state, from,
The police, through the police?
yeah, through the Department of Public Safety.
Okay,
Actually, Jeremy Romero, whenever he was in office.
yeah. Okay. I was just curious. Okay, thank you.
And then the payback on a grant match on a rec grant at $5,953. RSVP, the timing of the grant reimbursement, $3,000. The forestry grants, we had a project that we partnered up with the state for the Moon Mountain Fuel Break Project, and that's at $163,426. Geo bonds increased $200,000 for the Innsbrook water line, and then, of course, the New Mexico Finance Authority Capital Project Fund. This was the closeout of the magistrate court. So we increased revenues at $740. Expenditures went down $787, and there's a transfer out to debt service at $7,968. That represents some construction funds that we didn't use on the project. So what they do with NMFA is if you have any monies left over from construction, they just transfer it over to decrease your loan amount. The General Capital Improvement Fund, the increase from the general fund for Horton Phase 2, and then expenditures with $1 million for Horton, and to close out some projects, we decreased expenditures by $193,040, and then, of course, the transfer to SGRT. And then you'll see the increase in the debt service part of NMFA loans at $7,968 for the magistrate court closeout. On the RJU fund, their revenues and expenditures increased by $6,055 because of the insurance claims. Water productions insurance claim was $2,078, and water distributions was $3,977. The airport increased because we are doing the project Taxiway A, which is funded federally and by the state. The federal grant part is $464,850, and the state part is $46,485. And the expenditures increased a little bit more than the revenues because we have a grant match of $5,165. The Affordable Housing Fund increased because there's a legislative appropriation of $3 million for 603 Meacham. And then the MFA grant at $1 million, and the transfer in from the general fund at $409,413 for the total amount of expenditures available for 603 Meacham at $4,409,413. The affordable housing rental of all our properties was just increasing revenues at $190,000, increasing the revenue projection. And expenses increased, property maintenance at $50,000 and professional fees at $14,000. And then the last adjustments were to solid waste for their self-insurance claim on the garbage truck at $241,963 of our new truck. And that's all of it. Any questions?
Anybody? Okay.
Need a motion?
Yeah, we can take a motion to accept the budget adjustments.
Let me make sure I'm reading it right.
Adoption resolution.
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2024-14, a resolution amending the fiscal year 2024 budget, quarter ending March 31st, 2024, for certain funds and application to the local government division of the New Mexico Department of Finance and Administration for approval thereof.
Second.
Any final discussion? Roll call, please, Yvonne.
Counselor Hooker,
Yes.
Counselor Jackson,
Aye.
Counselor Corey,
Aye.
Counselor Eby. Aye. Counselor Letterman,
Aye.
Counselor Salas.
Aye.
All right, thank you,
Thank
Judy,
you.
Judy.
Thanks,
Great
Judy.
job.
Indeed.
So you walk in the trails, have they got it all scarified up or just long portions?
No, I've been doing this one up here, and so it's all pulled up Right here, it's nice. It's like nicer than the other pavement.
The
So
asphalt, yeah.
it's a lot smooth level. There's not big old holes or anything like that, so it's nice, so.
Okay, good. All right, discussion and possible action on E911 dispatch pay plan for recruitment and retention purposes. And good morning, Chief.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor and Council. What you have before you is a proposed pay plan for the consolidated dispatch. What we've done, or what I'm proposing, is cutting 2 positions. This pay plan has already gone before the Consolidated Dispatch Board and was approved unanimously during that presentation. What this would do is cut our staffing levels from 13 to 11 dispatchers. I know what the question is will that still be adequate? With 11 dispatchers, it'll still provide the adequate service that we need for our citizens. It will not interrupt anything. For the last 3 years since we've taken on the Downs, we've worked short-staffed at times with just 5 dispatchers. Right now, we're up to 7. We've still been able to maintain the quality of service for our citizens, and, with the EMD, the emergency medical dispatch, and every other component that needs to be complied with. So this pay plan would cut out 2 positions, and it would increase the salaries to the starting salary of $22 an hour, and then increase those above it for the retention component for the dispatchers that we have. This would not start the entry-level positions at a point that it would eventually catch up to our senior officers that have been there for many, many years. We have some that have been there for 20 years, but they will still, those officers would still maintain, there would be a gap between them to where they can't catch up to them overnight. A lot of times we give raises to begin, at the entry levels, and then eventually we don't think about the others that are there to compensate them, so that way they're not being caught up or being paid at the same rate as an entry-level dispatcher. So this plan before you would do that. It would be a positive impact of $24,000 for that, for cutting those 2 positions and then giving everybody else increases to where they would be adequately compensated. Do you have any questions?
Who all's on the dispatch committee?
Councilor Letterman, myself, Chief Commander from the Downs, the Fire Chief from the Downs, Fire Chief Kajaboski, and Emergency Manager Queller. I think that's everybody.
And
Yeah.
Judy Miller
Oh, and Judy Miller, I'm sorry.
wasn't
Yep,
there.
but she wasn't there.
So, does this have to be approved by the Ruidoso Downs Council?
So it's already, we spoke with Underwood on this, and he said that being that it was a positive impact and we weren't asking them for any more money, that we could just
But
push
we
it.
are asking them for more money,
No, the 24th, we're in savings of $24,000.
just by eliminating the 2
Yep, the
positions.
2 positions.
And increasing everybody $4 or $5 an hour.
Yes.
And you did the math on that?
I even took my shoes off to count, right? But
I'm
I,
having my shoes off, I'm getting ready to head that direction because it seems like it doesn't add up.
and that includes fringe benefits and everything else on it.
And Mayor and Council, just to confirm the math part, we did look at it from a staff perspective with HR, finance, and admin, just to make sure that we either had a wash or that positive, so.
So yes, it was looked at other people besides me. Yeah, exactly.
And Mayor, Chief, looking at this, where you have TCO 6 down to 10, those would still be vacant positions.
Yes, for right now, and hopefully this would, so with this pay increase, this would put us within the top 10% within the state, within the entire state of salaries, and then it'll put us ahead of Cruces, Alamogordo, Lincoln County, Chavez County, our local entities here.
And just for knowledge too, when you talk about regionally, is Supervisor Simpson, is she now on the board for the dispatchers?
No, she's not at this
I thought
point.
she was.
But no, she's just she doesn't have a voting member, and we would
No,
have to go.
Not the the regional dispatch, I'm talking about for the state.
Oh, yes. She is on the board for the state. She is the vice president of the, there's APCONINA, and then there's the other acronym, and I can't tell you which one it is, but it's the state recognized one. She is the vice president on the board for the Consolidated Dispatch Board.
Mayor, I move approval of the E911 dispatch plan for recruitment and retention purposes.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? But you think it's going to be enough?
Yes, sir.
Okay, because that's where we've always got into, is it's not enough.
For now.
to make a difference. Yeah, till next week's another different story.
That's right.
Till state police gives more money.
Yeah. Roll call, please.
Counselor Corey?
Aye.
Counselor Hooker?
Aye.
Counselor Eby?
Aye.
Counselor Letterman?
Aye.
Counselor Salas?
Aye.
Counselor Jackson?
Aye.
Thank you so much for that.
Thank you. Item number 3 is discussion and possible action on moving from on-site storage of financial system data and emails to the cloud. And I'm still old enough to remember when we had this presentation from Systems MD and other experts. They're like, oh, no, you don't want to put this on the cloud. You want to, so.
So Mayor Crawford, councilors, we learned a lot in the McBride fire. As you know, we were trying to get generators here to keep our systems up and running, and we almost blew up our servers because we didn't have the right size generator, and we were very reactive. And so in discussions with emergency management, Eric is applying for generators. However, Village Hall is not going to be one of the sites. He is actually getting a generator for the new EOC that will be at Horton, and then for the convention center, and then for some of the sirens or something like that. So Village Hall is not going to get a generator. So I'm trying to be proactive, and we've been talking about if we don't have power here during incident, what are we going to do? And so we're thinking that if we move our Encode system to the cloud, and if we buy Microsoft 365, which would be on the cloud, we would be able to connect anywhere as long as we had an internet connection. We'd be able to still do business. As you know, I live in La Luz. If I'm not here and I have my internet connection at my house, I would still be able to do a lot of the work. As you know, a lot of my people don't live in Ruidoso, so we're thinking that this might be a good alternative for us to look at moving everything to the cloud so that we can keep on being productive even while there's an incident going here in Ruidoso until we can get the EOC and everything up and running. If we moved stuff to the cloud and we moved our backup system to Horton, then there would be no need for us to spend any money here at Village Hall for new servers or anything. It would be just transferred over to Horton in a hope of saving $200,000 instead of having a backup at Horton here and the fire station and the police station. So we've gotten some initial quotes. And right now, it looks like it's going to be about $226,000, $90,000 for Encode, and then Microsoft 365 at $135,000. However, we do have to look when we're adapting to Microsoft 365. It's a backup of emails and your hard drives and stuff, but we need to determine which people that needs to be, because for every email that you're backing up, you're going to have an additional annual charge. And maybe not everybody in the village needs to have that 365. You know, the guy that just has the email for his direct deposit, he probably doesn't need to be backed up on 365, but say like supervisors and directors, they probably need to be backed up. So I want to look at that a little bit more in depth. Me and Michael have been talking about moving to 365 and the details and who needs to. So I would like to initially review the quotes that we currently have. And if the amounts are still within the ballpark, I would like to move forward. However, if it's not a good fix for us and the village, then we wouldn't move forward. Currently,
I'm sorry.
that's okay. No, go ahead.
we moved the bank to the cloud several years ago, and Mayor, we had the same concerns, because at first we were told never do that. And suddenly we were told you have to do this. Has Systems MD weighed in on protocols for security and authentication?
Yes, they have, but I want to look at them a little bit more in depth to make sure that we're still going to be protected and that our data's going to be safe, because I know the big thing is that we've heard Farmington got their data stolen and stuff like that. So before we make this major move, I would like to have a little bit more discussions with more people that are smarter than me, that have been around. So if you would like to sit in on some of the conversations, since you've had some experience, that might be a good idea before we actually take this move. Because I do understand it's a major move, and I just don't want to be rushed into it.
Well, they had a school in San Angelo just last week. They got held hostage, and they settled for an undisclosed amount because they had all their records sealed. They couldn't use anything. And so they fought them for 8 months. And so last year, a lot of the school didn't have computers, if you can believe that. So they finally decided to settle. They couldn't ever figure it out.
Mayor Crawford, members of the council, we'll bring in Systems MD, and we'll make sure that we're on the security part of it, that we're all, it's where we want to move forward to. So we'll make sure of that.
Yeah, I think that they can fix it now or stay ahead of it.
Yeah.
So what's the cost of getting a generator here?
My question, since you did say that we didn't have one here, but 226,000. And so what's the pros and cons of having a generator as opposed to getting a generator?
And Mayor and Council, just as an aside, one of the items that is going to the EOC is that generator. There will be a secondary system in IT that we're evaluating. So one of two things. If this does go, that generator would sustain our IT system there, which would create that level of redundancy that we're looking for. I think one of the other things we're evaluating in our discussions and going to the cloud and having that second level of redundancy is still having servers that would be a backup. Right now, we still have 2 levels of redundancy for that purpose. In case one goes down, we have another. And so I think as part of the evaluation, we're going to look at all of our options. You may send everything to the cloud, but you still may need to back up here. Councilmember Eby, to your point, the grants that we've been, or that Eric's been applying for, do focus on generators as priority. And so Village Hall wasn't established as that priority. We can bring back a cost. We'll work with Eric to bring back a cost on what that would look like to get a generator at this facility. But I don't think we would necessarily qualify as much, but I'll let him have that discussion with you all.
And Chief, I thought we already had one at Horton. It's just not big enough to do the.
Yeah, Mayor
That's
Crawford.
all the power it has?
Yes, and then that's paid for by DFA, so we couldn't use that for anything else besides dispatch, and it was paid for by DFA.
And Mayor Crawford, members of the council, we should have a quote from White Sands Construction on what that generator cost will be for Horton. And I know one cost that they provided was close to $200,000 for a generator to be able to handle the whole facility. So we'll get that one over here also. And I believe Eric also said that was pretty costly, but we'll look at that and work and see what we can do.
So the backup servers are all within the village?
We have them upstairs. Yes, Councilor Corey.
That's problematic. Yeah.
So on the items discussion, it's to approve. It's just asking to approve. So is this really a discussion on moving forward and investigating the different options?
Yes, and if you would like, we can bring it back before I make the change, or you would give us authority to move forward on it. It's however you all want to do it.
But right now, our backup is upstairs, but isn't it supposed to be at Horton?
Mayor Crawford, members of the council, when the Horton complex is completed, the phase 2, we're going to also have a backup system there also. We have an IT room, but still the main is upstairs.
Well, that's the main. I'm
Yes.
talking about where's the backup?
Well, we have at the police department,
Yeah.
the fire station, and Horton will have a
Right,
backup.
we did have it at the old municipal court, where it was so wet and everything, we demoed that down. But we have backups around.
They're all in the same.
And we're reaching the lives on the
They're the same
servers, so
city.
in the fiscal year 2025 budget, you're gonna see 800,000 to upgrade all the servers.
And it happens every 3 to 5.
5 years,
Yes.
yes.
And so are all the documents and everything, are they in that backup?
Documents, what do you mean? Like
Like-
the resolutions and stuff?
I mean, everything.
Oh, yes,
that we-
everything's in the backup.
I would think we would want to talk to Systems MD, because we moved to the cloud not because of generator, but to strengthen the security of the files. And so, you know, I think there may be, we're talking about pros and cons there. It'd make it easier if we saw what the risks were versus the benefits. But I think you definitely need to pursue looking into it.
Well, we moved ours out at the club to the cloud.
Oh, you did?
Yep.
But no matter what,
Still.
as soon as you do that, no matter how much somebody says it's secure, that's when it gets
Busted.
yeah.
Well, and that's why I think we need the experts to weigh in.
Well, one of the things we have to do again is when we went through and you have people that come in to find out how accessible people can get to computers. You know, like, I'm from IT, I'm supposed to do an installation. Oh, okay, here, set in. What was your password? Click.
Yep.
We had that done and they came back and said, you know, everybody's giving us passwords. They didn't even ask for credentials.
Yeah.
And so they get in, so it's basic things like that. It's all these goofy emails that come from me and others asking for your help. And thank goodness most everybody calls me. That's all phishing stuff that they say they do.
And
And we need to, our people here, we need to make sure they understand those.
we hired an outside consulting firm, and they did phishing tests on a regular basis, and that's the way we were able to change everyone, you know, getting them to look at the email before they respond. And
First National did that too.
Yeah.
We always had tests about,
But I think we need to do that here because the hospital even does it. And it caught every one of them, Todd, all the way down. And it was just one, you've been nominated for the whatever greatest, whatever
Yeah.
employee committee. And it has all the right names on it and they click it and then they're compromised.
the company we used, Mayor, went so far as to, they would send someone out to our offices claiming, you know, they.
Yep.
XYZ.
Yeah, to see if they could get in.
Yep.
And when we first started, everyone was
Oh, yeah.
trying to help them and, here, let me get a phone.
That's the way it was here, that they would sit down and say, and what was your password? And they give it to them, you know, because I'm here to help. I'm the IT department.
And Mayor Crawford, members of the council, prior to Systems MD, we had New Mexico Tech. They sent some of their students down here, and they just walked in and they got onto to our network, and
To our server.
and then
We
they
had 'em
showed us a
up.
presentation that here we are, we have it, when Mayor Batten, they had it in his office, they were in our network.
Yeah, and then we had one where they got into a community's water system, their SCADA system.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
That was
shut
in
every,
Texas.
yeah, it was in Texas, shut it all down, and they settled for an undisclosed amount. Because the FBI has no help, there's nobody that can help you.
I
So
think it's
that-
a good idea.
If I make a motion, it's gonna be to give staff.
Direct staff to move in that direction.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion that we allow staff to move and to continue to look into the on-site storage of financial system data and emails to the cloud.
Second.
Any discussion?
Just a question, Judy, I know in the capital outlay, you've got 686,000 for servers. Would this potentially lower that?
Yes, so that's what we're thinking, is that if we take this route, we would either take the money and either buy the generator as the backup here, or we would move it to the cloud. So in essence, that monies would reduce the 8 to the 6.
Mr. Mayor, Judy, the other question I have is not so much focused on the servers, but having been in another circumstance, if the power goes down in this building, then all the personnel are basically dead in the water. So you have that, and that's not a small expense. So that would be another concern I would have about having the generator, irrespective of where we put the database, because if you're here and you don't have power, then you can't work. And if you don't have power and you're offline somewhere, or you go online and log in, it would really be dependent on your system, and then you have and then I have concerns about the contamination of that. So that was my only concern with regard to that, because you have a lot of personnel here. And if they're just sitting at an empty desk, basically, the clock goes on.
And most of the people that are here, if we were experiencing something, we would probably, in essence, move to the EOC.
Yeah.
We would take everybody here, which I think most of the ladies here are in the phone bank, answering phones, so we would probably just transition, so that would be another option too, if we couldn't get a generator here.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please, ma'am.
Counselor Hooker,
Aye.
Counselor Jackson,
Aye.
Counselor Corey,
Aye.
Counselor Eby,
Aye.
Counselor Letterman,
Aye.
Counselor Salas.
Aye.
All right, well, that concludes all of this stuff was ran through the IFC,
Oh,
Internal
yeah.
Finance
That's
Committee.
right.
That read it, looked at it, approved it, and we added Greg to it. And so, anyway, so that concludes the special meeting at this time. So this meeting is adjourned. And smoke them if you got them, and we got a few minutes to get ready to start the next one.